All right, welcome in. It is a spring break edition of the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network. We are on spring break technically. That's why you don't see Israel here, but I wanted to jump on for a quick spring practice update. Also, we're going to air an old episode. We're going to go way back in the archives and dig out when Richard Samuel, former Georgia player, Georgia running back, Richard Samuel joined the show. He was the second guest that I had. This was pre-Israel. This is very, very early on, so we're going to play that here. But first, we're presented by Betonline.ag. Betonline remains your number one source for all your college basketball betting this season. Get analysis of every play, prop, and point at BetOnline. You'll find all the latest odds, bracket contests, team matchups, and game trends at BetOnline. Updated odds for everything from live games, the conference championships, right through the Final Four and championship game. BetOnline is your college basketball headquarters this season. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to sign up and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Be sure to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your bonus. BetOnline.ag, it's where the game starts. So just a couple quick notes. Spring practice kicked off. The first practice was yesterday, Tuesday, the 14th, and lots of storylines. The quarterback competition got off to a good start. Carson Beck, Brock Vandegrift each took equal share with the ones. Gunnar Stockton will get his opportunity here pretty soon, but that's how it started out. Not surprised. They're saying Brock Vandegrift added about 15 to 20 pounds. We'll see kind of how that goes with this competition, but Carson Beck seems to be the one that's in the driver's seat right now. Seems like he is most in tune with the offense, things that we've talked about in the past with Israel and things like that. So I think that if he can remain to have his firm grip on this offense, if he can maintain that rapport that he has with the receivers, especially the new ones. A couple storylines coming in there with the transfers, Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett coming in as new receivers, new weapons on the outside to go with Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey and the other guys that we have in the mix. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. It's going to be an interesting spring practice period. It's going to be an interesting fall camp because this thing is not going to be over unless Carson Beck, Brock Vandegrift, or Gunnar Stockton completely separate, and it's like miles and miles of separation from QB1 to QB2. So unless we get that, which I don't think that we will, you'll see a very, very tight race. And it'll come down to command of the offense, command of the huddle, and rapport with the weapons that they have, especially the new transfers. How can they get rolling? So we look at the offensive line. Cedric Van Pran coming back at center, Xavier Truss, Tate Ratledge look to man the interior. But let's take a look at the tackles. I mean, Amarius Mims, he's got his tackle spot, I think, lined up. He had a tremendous season last year in his spot duty and ended up taking over a lot of games at the right tackle position. So you have to think that he's locked in for a starting spot. But you never know with that. You have redshirt freshman Ernest Green, who's got the most praise from Broderick Jones and Warren McClendon. When they talked to him at the combine, Austin Blaskey, who can play. He can play all five positions actually, so he makes himself valuable. So those are some names to kind of look out for on the offensive line. It's Austin Blaskey and Ernest Green will be looking to battle to see who's going to open up at that left tackle spot or possibly the right tackle spot, depending on what they decide to do with Amarius Mims. So I like that. I think you got a really good competition on the offensive line there. So defensively, early enrollees, Gabe Harris, Samuel Mpemba, and Damon Wilson, they have a tremendous opportunity on that defensive front to make a name for themselves, especially in Mpemba and Damon Wilson. I think coming in, those are two very highly heralded edge rushers. Who's going to fill that Nolan Smith spot opposite of Mykel Williams? You have to think one of these guys has a really, really good shot. So Smoke Bowie, the transfer from Texas A&M, he's one of the stories. You look to add depth in that secondary. He's got to be somebody that if he's going to get these reps, if he's going to come in and be a starter, as talented as he is, I think it's going to come down to, can he speak the language? Can he properly communicate? Can he make sure that your safeties are on the same page, the guys in front of you are on the same page? Can you get lined up quickly? Can you know that can you know the ins and outs of the of all the zone coverages? So, but that's kind of your spring update. Nothing earth shattering on day one. I think it's just these guys getting the pads back on, getting back in the groove of things. It was kind of a tumultuous offseason with the Devin Willock situation, the car accident, and the staffers that died in the car accident. So that's got to be something that hopefully that they put behind them. But for them, I guess it's good to get back in normal routine. So without further ado, like I said, I'm going to go in the Wayback Machine to bring up this interview that we had with Richard Samuel way back in the very, very beginnings of the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast. Before we do that, though, we are also brought to you by Row One brand. Vintage art watches is one of the main things they have to offer. You can get any team vintage watch using the promo code DOGS20 if you want to get your NFL team. If you want to get some NFL representation on your wrist, like let's say you're a Steelers fan and you want to get, you want to add that to your dog watch, go for it. All right. Dogs20 will get you that 20% discount. They have 4 really good Georgia watches to choose from, a couple art pieces from 1929. So some expired copyright stuff. So those are exciting. We'll have some images there and hopefully I'll have one on my wrist here pretty soon. But we're going to get to this interview. We hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Again, this is a spring break edition of the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Network. We are presented by Betonline.ag. Here's Richard Samuel, former Georgia running back. His name is Richard Samuel. He joins the show. Richard, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful, man. It's another blessed day. Can't complain. How about you?
If I complain, nobody would listen. So it's a blessed day. So the sun came up, and it will hopefully come up tomorrow. So I'm happy to be here, happy to have you join the show. So one of the things that Chad told me about you was that you enrolled at Georgia at 16 years old. I knew you were young when you came in as a freshman, but I didn't realize you were that young. How did that happen?
I was born in St. Croix, the Virgin Islands, and the education there, it's a little difficult. I was in private school. So when I moved to Georgia, they, based off my age, they wanted to help me back grade, and my mother wouldn't allow them to.
Okay, so you just kind of advanced through.
So
and
I was always young for my grade, and I graduated high school early, and because of that, allowed me to be at Georgia at 16. I think for 2 months, I was 16 years at Georgia.
So what's that like being 16 years old, 17 years old on a college campus?
Ah, man, it's a big culture shock. So it's a big culture shock because I feel like like a fish in the ocean, a small fish in the ocean, and trying to figure out what to do, try to find my way. But at the same time, UGA, they had so many people there to help guide that, make the transition easy for me. And plus, there was my three other roommates. We all came in early at the same time, so I was able to lean heavily on each other to help that transition as well.
And did you take summer classes to kind of get used to being in a college class?
Yes, sir. Yeah. They had us enrolled in May semester as well as summer classes through June and July.
What did you major in?
Sports management.
Okay, good deal, man. Well, let's talk a little bit about football. You come in at 17 years old. I imagine it's pretty tough going against coming into a program like UGA. But one of my favorite moments that you had was that 80-yard touchdown run against Arkansas, I think in 2014, I believe. And take me through that.
Oh, man, that might have been 2009. So that's when I earned or gained the starting running back position.
Okay, and 2009, yes.
Yeah, started the running back position. Once again, like you said, I was 17. Didn't really grasp. One thing I guess that my mindset is I didn't really grasp how big of a opportunity that was. So that was a good, that was a bad. Good in the sense of I wasn't too jittery. I wasn't too nervous, but bad in the sense of I feel like I should have done more to capitalize on that. But that 80-yard run in Arkansas, it just felt like, hey, we dropped the play. Our lineman did exactly what they're supposed to do. Our fullback did exactly what he's supposed to do. And the C had, the block open.
Yes.
The C had parted. There was no one there in sight. There's one guy, he might have been 2 or 3 yards off to the side. I just had to run a little wiggle, and it was all foot race. At that point, I was always determined if I was to ever break free, I can never get caught.
Man, that, I remember watching that game and just being, the years all run together at this point. 2009 feels like 2014, feels like, at this point and the way the world is going, time is almost kind of frozen. But yeah, that was one of my favorite Richard Samuel moments. Another one was, you come in to close the game against Florida. I believe it was your senior year.
Yes, sir.
Come in to close the game against Florida. I was always, I grew up playing fullback in high school and things like that, and the art of the closer at the running back position is an art not lost on me. So how does that feel to see half the stadium empty as you're just pounding on the Gators?
Oh man, it was an amazing feeling. That game, that was a different mindset, a different zone for me, because I just remember going over the bridge, because every year we had a bridge to go over that we could see the stadium. And I was just completely in the zone of whatever I needed to do whenever my number was called, that I'm going to do that to the best of my ability to help the team win. I wasn't certain if it was going to be special teams or at the running back position. I just knew that I needed to be ready for whenever they did call me. I was ready to excel and ready to win at what I needed to do for my job.
Absolutely, man. And it was a job well done. I think just the elation of breaking that, breaking that losing streak against Florida was also just something that was, a lot of Georgia fans were just elated to see you come in and just drive the final nail in the coffin. So
yes.
So let's kind of talk about recruiting. What was the recruiting process like for you?
It was I like what made me chose Georgia was the personal aspect of the recruiting process. First, there was Coach Bobo and Stacey Searles and Coach Ball. Those are the three main coaches that I was very involved with, and they made me feel more of a individual than an athlete. There were some other places that I went to visit that they were just more worried about me being an athlete than me as an individual. And that's the main aspect that I love that draw me into Georgia. And then the more I dig deep into Georgia and understand the history and some of the amazing athletes that came through the program and then the history of the program, it was just a no-brainer, like this is home for me.
Yeah, and I'm glad you chose it. So, just that personal aspect can go a long way. Who was the runner-up? I'm just curious. Who would you have chosen had Georgia not been recruiting you?
I think I would have chosen Clemson because they would allow me to play both ways, running back and linebacker.
Okay, that's interesting, and they have a lot of good tradition too with the Howard's Rock and the Hill and all that stuff. So that would have been a good choice, but I'm glad you chose the Dogs nonetheless. Practice. How intense was practice when you got here?
Practice was rough. It was rough. Man, I remember in the spring of the first year, my first time practicing in the spring when I first enrolled early, I saw Caleb King. He was running the ball to the left, and on the defensive end on the right side caught him on the opposite side of the ball, and that was big eye-opening, like, wow. We have a big guy coming across the field from the opposite side of the ball and making a play. That was impressive. That was one thing I remember that was so impressive. Like, okay, this is a whole nother ball game for playing high school ball.
Mm-hmm. It's just the speed of the game is just ramped up immensely.
Yes.
So, who was the most intense coach on the offensive side of the ball?
On offense, I'll say Coach Bobo.
Yeah,
Coach Bobo. He always had the fire. Yeah, he always had the fire in him.
So let's. I want you to help me break this myth. There's a myth going around with Georgia fans that Coach Richt was very laid back and not very intense and things like that. What was he like at practice? What was he like on the sidelines during games, and how was it different?
Oh man, he's fired up. He may not be too out there, kind of like how Coach Searles was, Stacey Searles,
Mm-hmm.
but he was fired up. He was definitely had the fire, he had the desire. I mean, he didn't take anything lightly. There's times at practice that if we're halfway doing it, he would get in someone's face and tell them to start over and start running. He was one of those in-your-face type of coaches. He kept his composure a little bit more on the sidelines, but when it comes to practice and definitely inside the locker rooms during halftime of the game, oh man, he will definitely chew you out and he'll let you know, hey, you are slipping on what you're supposed to be doing. If you're not going to get your job done, get to the side and put somebody else in there. So he wasn't halfway. He wasn't kind-hearted, if you might say, when it comes game time.
Absolutely. So I think and I'm glad you broke that myth for me. I'm glad everything was. I'm glad everything was just that we can figure out that Coach Rick wasn't checked out and things like that. So let's talk about the current. Let's talk about the current team. What are your thoughts on like this year's team? What are your thoughts on the job that Kirby Smart's done since he's come in?
Man, I'm excuse me. Kirby's done a really, really great job just from seeing guys perform and also talk to some of the team chaplains, some of the guys that what's his name? Brian Gant. Just listening of the transition and the difference and the type of mindset that Kirby has within the locker room and within the program. I mean, he has that driven, has that we're going to win, has that everyone has to fight for their position every single day type mentality in the locker room, which, as you see, got us to where we was playing in the playoffs, guys were playing in the SEC championship. So I'm excited to see what he continues to do with a number of athletes he got coming in, especially some of those great running backs that have coming in as well.
So evaluate the running back position. Like we got Zamir White, James Cook, and then Kenny McIntosh, and then some of the new guys coming in like Kendall Milton and I think Daiwan Edwards, if I pronounce that right. So what are your thoughts on the current running back situation?
It's tough. I mean, like you said, look at the guys we have coming back, Zamir White and Cook, and there's some good athletes. I mean, we have a guy that he can pound you, but he can also take to the house. But then we also have a guy that kind of like a Thomas Brown type running back. So we have that's already there who already have gameplay SEC D1 experience. But then we have some of them younger athletes. I mean, this is another guy coming up, I forgot his name, but he runs the ball kind of like Todd Gurley.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's the bigger guy. He's shifty, but he has speed as well. So what you can do with a talent like that? You're going to redshirt him or you're going to play him? It's hard to see. So, I mean, we have some great athletes coming in. So I'm excited to see how we utilize their abilities. And I feel just from seeing what Kirby has done with the program, I feel that he will find a way to implement those guys' talents and abilities around the playbook or make a playbook around them.
Yeah, I think he's not a force feed your system type of person. I think I think he realizes with this most recent hire of Todd Monken, I think he realizes that you have to fit your system with your players, and I think that the receivers that Georgia has recruited to match the running backs, and then you have a dynamic weapon who can do just kind of a little bit of everything with James Cook. I think you bring in a guy like Todd Monken who's going to, I think, take advantage of matchups and things like that and try to get James Cook out in space, and so that he can use maybe 3, maybe even 4 running backs throughout the course of the season. So what are your thoughts on the direction of the offense, and do you know much about Todd Monken?
I do not know much. I mean, I know before he came to Georgia, he has a definitely good streak of success. So, kind of like what you said, the fact that he's willing to, or he has the ability to build his playbook around his athletes, that's what I'm excited to see. That's one thing that I've noticed throughout my 5 years at Georgia. We have a ton of great talent, even on the field and on the sideline. So if we can find a way to utilize everyone's talent and keep people fresh, I mean, we can dominate. We can really make some things happen and interchange. Put like you said, 4 running backs throughout the entire season. you don't usually see 4 running backs playing. You always see 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, but have 4 to utilize, and each has a different weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that'd be amazing.
I can't wait. Were you on the team that went out to Oklahoma State? Was that your freshman year, or was that the year before that?
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think Monken was there. What did you think about that Oklahoma State team? I think that was his first year as coordinator.
I mean, they were good. I mean, they came ready to play. They executed. They moved. Yeah, that was a good team. I remember that.
So I think you can expect that level of explosiveness. I believe Des Bryant was on that team, if I remember
Yes, he
correctly.
was. Yep, Des was. Yeah.
What was it like seeing him in person? Was he on a whole nother level?
He was. I mean, kind of reminds me of AJ. I mean, just amazing athletes. They make plays. It just doesn't happen. They make them happen.
Were you in awe of AJ Green in practice?
Yes.
Does he make those highlight type catches in practice?
Yes, he does. And the thing is his demeanor. It just seems so laid back, but it's like, wow, where'd this come from? Out of someone so laid back.
It's almost laid back, but laser focused is kind of how I see AJ Green.
Yes, he was always tuned in. He was always tuned in, always laid back, but he just made plays.
You can't go wrong there. So, what do you think was the toughest place for you guys to play on the road?
Toughest place, I want to. That's a tough one.
And do you think it's changed? Do you think your opinion has changed based on what you know from the outside looking in now?
A little bit. I think the most annoying place to play was South Carolina with that rooster, whatever that game clock, whatever it is, making a noise every freaking 2 minutes. It was awful.
And it felt like you were in a techno club too, right?
Yes, I just hated playing in that stadium. It was just awful and annoying.
Did it feel like you were in hell's waiting room too with the temperatures usually there at that time of year?
Yeah.
It almost seemed like it was always 100 degrees, sun beating down on you. So, so South Carolina, that's interesting. I think Chad Glore, when I talked to him on this show, he said his favorite place was South Carolina on the road because I guess he's more into techno music than you are. So that kind of struck him as one of his favorite places. What did I'm gonna circle back to Georgia, Florida. Was it weird having that half and half crowd? What was that like?
The first time I saw it as a freshman, it was amazing to see. Like, just it's a true split. You can see it. There's no where you have to look real hard. It's a true split. And just being on the middle of the field, looking around and say, "Wow, half Georgia, half Florida." It's one of those amazing feelings that you don't get too often, or you don't get doing too many things.
Yeah, I mean it's a unique experience. I went to about 7 of them as a fan, and it's a surreal experience. I've sat on both sides actually, depending on where my ticket source came from. So it's definitely an experience, and it's definitely weird seeing one side of the stadium it clears out versus the other where it's still going crazy. So. Do you, with the current running backs, have you reached out to any of them? Have you given them any sort of advice?
No, sir, I have not. I've never been able to reach out and communicate with any of
Okay.
them.
So some advice. Is there any advice that you've received along the way that might have stuck with you? That that one piece of advice from one of the coaches or somebody at the university saying, telling you something, or maybe even something in high school that someone told you that stuck with you?
I would say the one thing is it's kind of two. One, make sure you know your job and you do your job the best of your ability. And the second thing is you do this during the off season. Make sure you are physically prepared to do that job. When I say from the running back position, the main things are catching, blocking, and being able to run with the ball. You learn meaning agility. You learn all that during the off season. So spend your time in the off season making sure that you are honing in on those skills and those abilities. So whenever it comes to game time and you know your job, you can do your job to your best ability. Those are the two main things for a running back or almost any athlete.
And would
you have to be able to do? Go ahead.
I said, would you echo that to the current incoming freshman?
Oh yes, definitely. Spend the off season, make sure that you're ready, and then when it comes time, make sure that you know your plays. Make sure you know who you're supposed to pick up. Make sure you know what transition to who and how to go on the block and run the routes. So yeah, those are two main things: physical and mental preparedness.
So I'm gonna take the point of view saying learning your plays and stuff like that. What do you think? What worked for you as far as learning your responsibilities and learning your job? What worked for you the best, and what do you think would be a good strategy for these incoming freshmen to learn the playbook?
I would say just I said for me, just try to match certain things, match words with what you're supposed to do, or kind of make them easier to remember. I know, of course, with offense, with running back, you have your evens and you have your odds. So that's the common sense. But then you have the play names that you got to figure out, okay, this name means this. And just try to have some type of key that will match it with something that is automatic for you in your mind. Like power. We have a power play. Well, power is straight down the middle, straight ahead.
Yeah.
Toss, 24 toss, where we toss it to the right because you got to go outside. So just little things that makes it keeps a trigger in your mind to where you can think fast and say, hey, this word means resembles to this, so I know I have to do this job.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so like word association, things like that. That's
Yes,
good. Something that you learn as an elementary school student, those mnemonic devices to try to get you to remember what you're supposed to do. That's that seems very, very simple, and I'm glad you touched on that. So, Richard, you said you majored in sports management. What are you up to these days?
Or currently I'm investment real estate. So I have my real estate license. I've been licensed for about 5 years now, and I work with other investors to help purchase property as well as I manage the properties for them.
Okay, so that's that market's got to be booming right now, right?
Man, let me tell you, I had a client. This is a resale residential.
Okay.
I had a client that we just closed on a home last Thursday. His price point was under $200,000, and we put in probably 5 offers at asking price and above asking price. And we got outbid every single time. So
Wow.
the market is hot and it's moving.
Good deal. Are you in the Atlanta area?
Yes, sir, I am.
How can Georgia fans get in touch with you as far as with your business and social media, all that stuff?
Oh, of course, there's Georgia fans. My cell is 770-547-7675. Social media, on Facebook is just Richard Samuel. Instagram, Richard_A_Samuel. And that's the best way to reach me. Or text, call. I'll be quick to answer. And like I said, if anyone have any questions in regards to anything in regards to real estate, I'd be more than glad to answer. I don't feel any obligations or anything. I just want to give the information to help.
You heard it there, Georgia fans. Reach out to him. He's going to be a real estate mogul here pretty soon. So, Richard, I'm going to offer this challenge to everyone I talk to or every alumni I talk to. I'm going to give you a chance to call out 2 teammates, and we're going to try to get them on the show.
2 teammates.
Who are you calling out?
I'll say Tavares King and Rennie Kern.
Okay. I like that. Tavares, Rennie, you're up. You've been challenged. So yeah, I think Chad he said you, and I think he said TK. So I think Tavares is getting he's going to get some added pressure, I guess, from you to jump on. So Richard, I would love to have you back. You're welcome anytime. And even if with the teammates that you just called out, if you want to join with those teammates, you are more than welcome to. And we can have you on as a guest host and things like that. So I don't know if you'd be interested in that, but you don't have to answer that right now. But I definitely appreciate you coming on. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Most definitely. Anything I can do to help. I'm more than willing to help. If you call, hey, I'm here to help. Just reach out and let me know when and what time.
All right, Richard. Well, let's talk soon. And again, I'll give you a good hearty go dogs, and I appreciate you going on. I appreciate you coming on the show.
All right, yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Richard. Thank you, man.